Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my Seaside Vibes crafting event where I'm sharing a brand new faux leather summer craft for your Cricut every day for 10 days. Today's project is this really fun and easy summer jewelry tray. This can lay flat in your suitcase and then you can pop it and snap it together when you're at your destination to hold your jewelry, seashells, whatever you'd like. I have the SVG file for this project in my shop. If you'd like to craft along with me, I'll leave a link to it for you. So I'll be using my Cricut Maker today. You'll need one of the larger machines, so any of the Maker machines or the Explore machines, including the Explore Air 2. You can also cut this pattern with the Cricut Joy Xtra, but it is a little too large for the Cricut Joy. The faux leather that I'm using some really pretty summer patterns, and I'll leave links to all of these supplies for you. You can use any faux leather you'd like. It just needs to be at least 9 inches long on one side. So if you're using a roll of faux leather, you can roll it out, and as long as you have 9 inches, you're good to go. I'll be using a purple strong grit mat to cut the faux leather, and I'll use some blue painter's tape. This is going to help us get really good cuts. I'll be using a weeding hook to poke through the little holes in the pattern, and it's always good to have some curved scissors on hand to trim up any little fuzzies. So the way this pattern is going to snap together to create a tray is using these little Kam Snaps. These are size 20 Kam Snaps, and you'll also need some size 20 Kam Snap pliers. Now, as I go through this video, first I'm going to show you the very basic way to make this, and then I'm going to show you a few more ways that you can dress up this pattern by putting something on the back, by embellishing it with a little personalization on the inside, and also by changing out the snap hardware for some pretty metal rivets. So let's go ahead and hop into Cricut Design Space. I'll show you how to cut out the pattern, and then we'll get started with this project. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload, and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG file for this project is saved on your device. Click on it to select it, and then click Open. You'll see a preview of the jewelry tray shape. Click Continue, and then Upload. So we have a very simple shape here. You can see there are 8 little holes, and those are made for your little snaps or rivets, which I'll show you later. Now, if for some reason you did not want to cut these little holes because you wanted to just glue this pattern together, you can do that by using the contour feature. So let's click on Contour, and you can see the little holes that are going to cut. They're dark. If you click on them, then they sort of fade away, and that makes the hole hidden, and the hole will not cut. See how the holes are gone from there? But I'm going to cut the holes. I just wanted you to know you had that option in case you did not want to use hardware. You wanted to use glue, or maybe you wanted to sew these edges together. Completely up to you. So I'll click the Make It button. We need to mirror this mat because faux leather cuts in reverse. And I'm just going to drag my shape away a little bit from my edges of my mat because we will be taping this material down with blue painter's tape on all sides. So I'll click Continue. We're using the faux leather paper thin cut setting. If you don't have this bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to Custom before you can find this setting when you search. So I always use faux leather paper thin, and I use more pressure. That helps us get good cuts. And then if we scroll down, we can see that we're just using the regular fine point blade that comes with all of the current Cricut machines. So let's go ahead and hop back over to our overhead camera, and we will cut out our mat, and then I'll show you how to assemble the jewelry tray, and I'll show you some ways that you can dress it up and make it your own. So I've got my purple strong grit mat ready to go, and I have my really cute little summer faux leather. I'm just going to turn this over so it's pretty side down on my purple mat, and I'm just going to place it where I saw my shape is going to cut in the mat preview screen, which is this top left corner. I'm going to rub it down with my fingers, and I'm going to put blue painter's tape around on all sides, and this keeps the faux leather from shifting while cutting. Now, I mentioned that I was going to show you some ways to personalize this project. One of them is you can put something on the back of your heat transfer vinyl before you cut the shape, and that gives the back of your jewelry tray a pretty and finished look. So I have a video, I did another jewelry tray. It was a flower shape. And in that video, I show you how to press some thin heat transfer vinyl on the back of your faux leather first and then cut your shape. So I'll leave a link to that project for you. I'm just going to cut this the way it is to save some time on this video, but I wanted to let you know you do have that option. So we have our faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure ready to go. I'll just load my mat into the machine and begin the cut. So our shape has cut one time, and before I unload my mat, I'm going to use my sharp weeding tool and just lift up the edge to see if it looks like the cut went all the way through. And this one looks good. Now I do have lots of little holes in this pattern, so I want to check the holes as well. And these holes look like they could use another cut, so I am going to rerun my cut. And if you need to rerun your cut too, don't be alarmed. That happens a lot when cutting faux leather with a Cricut. You'll just press your cut button again. It will pull the mat back in and repeat the exact same cut. And you can do that as many times as you need to, as long as you don't unload your mat. So as I said, even though these cuts look good, I do have lots of little holes that I want to have another pass through. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this cut one time. So my mat has cut twice. I'm going to unload the mat and remove the shape. And then I'm going to use my sharp weeding tool. I'm going to flip this over on the other side and just poke through all of those little holes. Now, if they are a little bit stuck, that's okay. That's when we can use our little curved scissors and just trim them open. Also, you can use your curved scissors if you have any little fuzzies on the edge of your faux leather that you need to trim away. That's great for scissors too. So now that my pattern is ready with all of those little corner holes poked through, we're going to apply the Kam Snaps. So these are size 20 Kam Snaps, and we have our Kam Snap pliers. I bought this as a kit. This box came with the pliers, and I'll leave a link to that for you. And my kit came with this little set of instructions that I always like to show in my videos, and I'll include a copy of this graphic in the download folder for this SVG file. So for every snap, we need 4 pieces. So we need a cap, a stud, which has little bumps on the top, a piece called a socket. It has like a U-shaped opening that this stud snaps into, and then another cap. So that's to create each snap, we need these 4 pieces. So in this particular pattern, the way this works is we find our little corner holes. I know it's hard to see, but there's 2 holes in each corner. We're going to pinch this corner closed like this, and we're going to apply 1 snap. So every corner here is going to need these 4 pieces. So if we need 2 caps for each snap and we need 4 snaps, that means we need 8 caps total, 4 studs, and 4 sockets. So what I'm going to do is take a moment. I like to find all of these pieces and lay them out on my work surface. So I'm going to go ahead, take a moment and do that. Then we'll come right back and I'll show you how to snap them together using the Kam Snap pliers. So I've gone ahead and gotten my Kam Snaps out of my size 20 Kam Snap box. I found 4 complete sets because each corner of this is going to be a set of Kam Snaps, and I've just laid them here on my work surface in the same order that are on this little diagram here. So we've got the cap, the stud, the socket, and another cap. Okay, so now we're going to take our little pattern and we want to find the 2 holes in the corner. So it's probably easier to see from the back. We've got 2 holes, and what we want to do is pinch our corner so that those 2 holes line up. Again, look at the back if you need to. And then what's going to happen is we're going to end up snapping together all 4 of these corners so that this pattern can be unsnapped if you need it to be flat to travel with, or it can be snapped together to create a tray. Okay, so we've got a left hole and a right hole. Might be a little hard to see. You could see it on the back, a left hole and a right hole. So I recommend putting the same snaps on every set of holes as you go around, just so you don't get confused. Now the cap is always going to be on the back side in this pattern. So I'm going to start on the left. I'm going to take a cap. I'm going to poke it through the back so we can see the cap on the back of our jewelry tray, and the little post sticks up. Then I'm going to take my next piece, which is the stud. I'm going to pick one up. This is the one that has the little bumps on the back side. Those bumps are going to go down onto the post. So we have a cap on the back and a stud on the front. Now we're going to use our Kam Snap pliers. There's a large black piece and there's a smaller white piece. The black piece always goes over the cap. So I'm holding this in place with my 2 fingers. I'm going to very carefully slide these pliers over so that the cap is completely covered by that black piece. When you can't see the cap anymore, it's in the right spot. Once you have that lined up, then this piece will line up as well, and all you need to do is squeeze. Okay, so we've got on the left hand side a cap and a stud. Now on the right hand side, we're going to take our second cap from our little row here. The cap again is going to go from the back to the front. There's our little post sticking up. Then we're going to put on the socket. So this is what the socket looks like, and you can see how this piece is going to snap into this piece, right? So again, I'm just holding these 2 pieces together with my fingers. Get my pliers. The black piece is always going to go over the cap. I need to kind of shimmy it over until the black piece completely covers the cap. This piece will be lined up as well, and just squeeze. Okay, so now we've got a little snap that pinches together, and that creates our first corner. Isn't that cute? So you can unsnap this when you want to travel with it. Snap it together to create the little tray. So now what I'm going to do is just repeat this corner 3 more times. I'm going to rotate again on the left hole. I'm going to do the first 2, the cap and the stud. On the right hole, I'm going to do the cap and the socket. I'll just go all the way around. So that's that. Isn't that cute? See how easily those 4 little snaps make that little jewelry tray? I just think it's super, super cute. So again, you could have some heat transfer vinyl on the back. If you pressed heat transfer vinyl on this first, I recommend a very thin heat transfer vinyl, something like Caesar Easy Weed or some Cricut foil iron-on if you want to press on your faux leather first before you cut. But let me show you another way that you can also get some heat transfer vinyl on the back. So I cut this pattern the same way that I showed you, cutting the faux leather. What I did was I cut the back, which is a Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl, which is thicker, and it's very difficult to cut these 2 together at the same time. So you can see here, I first cut out my pattern with the faux leather, and then I cut out my heat transfer vinyl on a separate mat. I put them back to back, and then I pressed them together. So let me show you quickly in Cricut Design Space what that looks like to be able to get the 2 different patterns to cut from. And then I'll show you just very quickly how I was able to press these back to back and then create this. So after you've uploaded the tray pattern, you're going to duplicate it. So make sure the tray is selected and then just click on duplicate. Now what we want to do is color the second one a different color because we want our 2 shapes to cut on different mats. One will cut from faux leather and one will cut from heat transfer vinyl. Click the Make It button. Now for the one that will cut from faux leather, you want to toggle the mirror button on because this one will cut in reverse. For the heat transfer vinyl mat, don't toggle that mirror button on, just let it cut the way it is. Even though the heat transfer vinyl will cut in reverse, because of how we are putting these 2 materials back to back, we need one of the patterns to be mirrored and one of the patterns not to be mirrored. So just trust me on this. Click Continue. We'll cut our faux leather mat using the faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure, and then you'll cut your heat transfer vinyl mat using the manufacturer's recommended cut settings for your type and brand of heat transfer vinyl. Once you cut out both of the patterns, then you'll just put them back to back on your heat pressing pad and press them. So now that you understand how I made this version with the thicker heat transfer vinyl on the back, I want to show you another way to close up the corners. Now the snaps are obviously great for unfolding the jewelry tray, but if you don't need to unfold your jewelry tray or you don't want to use Kam Snaps, you might want to use rivets. So these are 6mm rivets. Every rivet has 2 pieces. It has what looks like a little nail and it has a little nail head. These are 6mm in size and the post is 6mm long. I'll leave a link to these for you. If you find 6mm rivets that have a much longer post, then they're not going to work for putting through 2 layers of faux leather. The post will be too long and the rivets will bend. So make sure you check my links for the 6mm by 6mm rivets. So they have the post and then they also have just the cap on the other side. So for this pattern, you'll need 4 posts and 4 caps. And rivets generally have the little hardware that you need inside the package. So we have this little piece that we are going to hammer. One side is flat, which is where we hammer. One side is curved, which will go over the rivet. And then this little piece is a strike plate. This is what we're going to hammer onto. And I'm just using a regular hammer from my garage. So let me show you how the rivets work. So we're going to take a post first. And what we're going to do is put it from the back to the front through, I'm going to put it through the left hole. You could do the right hole if you'd like, it doesn't matter. Again, we're going to pinch, and as we're pinching, I'm lining up those 2 holes. So the post pokes through on the back side. And then I'm going to take one of those little caps. I'm going to pop it on the post, and you'll kind of pinch it and you'll feel it catch, and it sort of catches together. So now we've got that little corner pinched up with a post on each side. And what I'm going to do is just place this right on top of the little strike plate. I'm going to take the little hammer piece, put the concave side down. And what that does is the little concave side, it sort of covers the rivet so you can hammer on it without scratching the top of the rivet. And then I'm just going to hammer with my hammer, probably 6 or 7 times. What that does is it tightens up that rivet and it pulls this corner together really tightly, and then you get this really pretty cap on both sides. Now this obviously you're not going to be able to undo like you can with the snaps, but it is a different look and it's a prettier look. Okay, so I'm just going to continue around and do that on all 4 sides. So here's a look at the same jewelry tray made with glitter heat transfer vinyl on the back and then with little 6mm rivets. So that's another really pretty look. So I wanted to show you one more way that you can personalize these, and that's by using heat transfer vinyl and pressing it inside. So you would want to press your heat transfer vinyl before you attach your snaps or your rivets. And this is a little frame, little tropical leaf here, and I've designed 4 of these frames, and I have them as a bonus for VIP pass holders for my event. But you could go into Cricut Design Space and you could find your own kind of frame or maybe type your own text. But the way these little frames work is they're perfectly sized for this tray. And then I just added a letter. I typed out a text letter and I added it. I placed it where I wanted it to be inside this little frame. And then I attached these 2 layers in Design Space before I cut the heat transfer vinyl. And I cut this using some Tech Wrap chrome heat transfer vinyl in gold, which I think is really, really pretty. Now this one you'll also notice has rivets as well, just like this one, but these are 6mm rivets and these are 12mm rivets. So they have a much larger hole and they are too large to hammer together because the post, as I mentioned earlier, the post is much longer and it's not going to hammer together. But all I did was snap them together and you get kind of this pretty corner where you can see the metal bar in between. And I think that's a really nice look in and of itself. So just to recap, we can make the jewelry tray just by itself with nothing on the back. You can use snaps if you want to be able to make it flat and pack it with you. You can add some heat transfer vinyl on the back if you'd like, either pressing a thin heat transfer vinyl before you cut, or cutting a second copy of the tray from heat transfer vinyl and pressing that on the back. You can also use 6mm rivets as a different way of connecting. And then finally, you can personalize these with some heat transfer vinyl, and you could experiment using some different elements for the corners as well. So here's another look at the finished jewelry trays. I really hope you like this project. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.